Hi everybody, welcome back to another video with me Andy. I hope you're all doing well. And I got quite a few requests to tie this shrimp, so I thought I would go ahead and tie it for everyone. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on with it. Hook I've got in the vise, this is a trout line. This is the G602. It's actually a number 10, so it's a relatively big one. And we're going to start off first by laying some lead foil. So we'll start towards the back and we'll just pinch a piece on there and then wind it up. Wind it up just short of the eye. Just come in and then pinch off your last piece. And then we're going to add another layer, just started like a wrap further up. Again, pinch it with your nail and just wrap this up and then stop around about a wrap short. And there's your lead base for your fly. We'll just pinch that bit down there, which I can see on the camera. Obviously the camera is like a lot more zoomed in than my eyes are, so I can see little imperfections on the camera. So, the thread we're going to be using is the trout line. The Textreme, this is fluorescent pink in AO. Now we're going to start this at the eye of the hook. Now we're going to do some relatively loose turns, because if you pull it too tight sometimes the lead foil will like unravel and spin on the hook. So if you do some relatively loose turns just to cover over the top, and then as you work back up you can then space those turns tighter and obviously tidy bit more pressure. And there we go, there's that secured. So next material we're tying in is our shellback. And this is the Hen's shellback in pink. Now what I'm actually going to do, because this is slightly more of a slender profile fly, I'm actually going to come in, I'm just going to like cut this end section here into like a V taper. So there you go, it's like a V taper. I don't know whether you saw that properly, but there you go, so a nice little V taper. And now we're just going to come down, tie it in at the point, and then just, I use my finger to position it exactly where I want it, and then I'm going to come back up. Now for the rib on this fly, we're going to be using some fluorocarbon. So it's just some 8-pound fluorocarbon here. I'm going to tie it on. I'm actually going to leave the excess around about the length of the body. This is just so there's no lumps and bumps and everything's relatively evenish on the fly. And then our body material. So the body material on this is going to be this is the Semper fly, and it's the Perfect Shrimp Wool. It's actually really nice stuff. First time I've used it on a fly, and I actually was really impressed by how it looked when it was on the fly. So yeah, I was actually really impressed. Again, leave your excess round about the length of the hook shank, and then just pull these two and tie them in over the top of your hook shank, all the way down, and then just come up with some tighter turns to secure everything in. I'm just going to use my other hand just to pinch this excess on top. It's just so we don't get it rotating or spinning around the hook shank. Now, stop our thread slipping anywhere. Just grab your whip finish tool, or however you like to whip, whether it's your fingers, whip tool, whatever you want to do, and just secure that. Now, what you want to do is grab your perfect wool. Is it perfect? Yeah, perfect shrimp wool, yarn, wool, yeah. Start at the back, very, very simple, and then just start winding it forward. Now you want these to be really close touching turns, you know, very, very slightly perhaps overlapped on the last turn, and that way you get full coverage of the fly. There's going to be no gaps in between, and you're going to get like a relatively nice dense body on there. As you can see, it's got like pink strands running through it, and the normal kind of yarny, like, is it tan colour you want to call it? So it's got some really nice colours in there, some lighter pinks. So, and that should do us at the head there. Now, I'm just going to shorten the length of my thread. Now I've actually pulled the thread and over the top, like crossed it over. I'm just going to make sure this yarn's not over the eye, and then just come over and just basically widen back over the yarn, and that will secure your yarn in. So I only did one turn over the top, and then obviously wound back over the yarn, and that creates like a nice, usually a nice neat head. Doesn't always work. I don't always get a perfect neat head on these flies, but for the most part relatively alright. So now grab your shell back. I'm going to sort of fold this over the top. It's actually caught up on itself back here a little bit. So I'm just using my nail just to try and unfold it. There we go, sorted. Now come over the top and then just fold it around the eye. Now grab your thread, go over the top. Now what I do is I lift it and very slightly pull it. And then do a couple of more tightening wraps. Come in with your scissors. Try and trim off as close as humanly possible to eliminate any excess waste on there. And then just do a few turns just to secure everything in nicely. And now I'm just going to do again a one turn whip finish while I incorporate the rib. You can the rib you can wind away from yourself or towards yourself. To be honest, for me personally, it hasn't really made a difference. I've tried it both ways and I've been kind of ruffling around with the flies, seeing whether it makes a difference, and it hasn't made a difference. So I'm actually just going to wind it towards me, start at the very back. Now, these want to be nice tight turns, so pull them quite tight. As you're starting from the back, you know, the turns are tighter, or sorry, closer to space together, and as you go up the fly, you know, widen the space between them. Now come over the top of your fluorocarbon and then fold your fluorocarbon back, and then just take your thread and just wind over the top of your fluorocarbon. Now all that's left to do is grab your whip finish tool, there's a 5-turn whip finish. Head's not as small as I'd have liked it, but you know, not everything goes perfectly on these flies, and to be fair, the fish don't care either, so it's fine. I'm actually just going to move this light further away, just so you can, I think it's slightly bright on there, and we'll just, so there's the fly in the vise. Now what I'm actually going to do, I don't like using my dubbing brushes on these because I find they don't get the bits out exactly what I want, so I'm actually going to grab a dubbing needle. And I'm just going to come in, turn the fly upside down, and just start picking out. Actually look for the fibres I want, so I'm trying if I can to pick out some of the pinky ones and some of the browny ones, just so I've got like a mixture of these fibres coming out. Sometimes it's quite difficult to see as well. I also need to straighten the back of the shell. I'll do that in a little bit. I'm just going to pick these out first. So I'm just going around picking out some of these fibres. There we go, got a few good ones out there with that one. Obviously be careful of your rib, you don't want to snap your rib. And there you go, there's some like nice little legs sticking out. Now what I do is I'm just pulling my fingers down and brushing these down because I don't want them crazy long. So I'm just going to trim some of these longer fibres out because I don't want them crazy long. Now that's actually quite nice for the legs. Now I'm just going to go around checking the body of this fly. It is actually straight, just so the shell's straight on it. And there we go, the shell looks okay on there now. Now, next step, what we're going to do, just got a pro marker here, a black one. I always like to darken the heads on mine, I don't even know why really, but I just like to. Just my personal preference, I suppose. So just give that a few seconds to dry. You don't need many seconds. And as always with all my shrimps, I like to use some Gulf Thinman resin. Now I'm going to start at the back. Just select with a really fine coat, it doesn't need to be thick. It's just enough to cover the back, and I really do think this makes a difference. I don't know whether it makes a difference in catching fish, I just love the look of it, and it stops I find it stops the shell back getting damaged as well. leg in the way there. I'm just going to try and pull that out of the way. There we go, just so it doesn't get caught in the back when I'm setting the resin. So as you can see, there's a really thin coat of resin on there. Now we're just going to come in with our torch. As you can see, there's got a lot of UV properties, this fly, as well. So the shellback's quite UV reactive. Doesn't take long to set. Usually that's set there. And now I'm actually just get rid of this silly little strand on the side of it that was getting in my way. There we go. And now, as always, I like to come in with a little bit of varnish, just in case I've missed any spaces on the back with the resin. So, I don't want water getting in those little gaps if I've missed any micro holes or whatever. I'm just going to brush over the top, and that gives me some extra security. And there you have it. There is your fly finished. Obviously going to wait for your varnish to dry, but apart from that, there's your fly finished. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you on the next one.